Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to share some highlights and learnings from the Ontario CLRI's 2022 Forum, Allied for Inclusivity and Long-Term Care, and tell you about the development of a new community of practice for Ontario-based long-term care homes to advance their equity, diversity, and inclusion journeys. Before we introduce ourselves, we do want to acknowledge the land from which we're working on and are able to develop all of these excellent resources. We do want to acknowledge that because we are an EDI session, that we do support the acknowledgement of land and the peoples of which we are beneficiaries from. So making some recognition to the land acknowledgement that kicked us off at the beginning of the conference. Hi, everyone. My name is Kim, she, her, but you can call me Kim, as I just said, sorry. And I work as an assistant professor in the Department of Recreation and Leisure Studies at the University of Waterloo. And my research program focuses on inequities faced by women of color in helping professions. I do identify as a settler of colonized history and a woman of color. And I believe this topic is important to me because I live the realities of labeling, particularly as it affects uh, conversations around racism, sexism, ableism, and other acts of injustice. As an advocate, I'm committing to supporting community and inclusion through my work and in my leisure. I'll send it over to Ashley.
Thanks, Kim. I'm Ashley. You can also call me Ash, and I use she, her pronouns, and I identify as a queer woman and a settler of colonized history of Irish and Dutch descent. And I work day to day as a research fellow at the National Institute on Aging at Toronto Metropolitan University, where I work to bring an equity lens to the work that we do around policy, advocacy, and education. And most recently, the bulk of my work really focuses on working with and for to us LGBTQI folks, whether they're kind of living in community or in anywhere along our long-term care system as well. And I look forward to sharing our insights from the forum with you all today.
Hi, everyone. My given name is Michelle. I am a senior knowledge broker at the Ontario CLRI at Bruyere. My pronouns are she and her. I identify as a settler of colonized history of Irish and French descent. As a white cisgender woman, I am very mindful of the privilege that I live with and both the harm and the good that it can do. I am a passionate ally and I am on a journey of learning and unlearning. And I am very grateful to be part of this work and to get to collaborate with Ashley and Kim. I'm the project lead on the Ontario CLRI's Supporting Equity, Diversity and Inclusion initiative. And I'm also a founding member of the Diversity Commitment Committee at Bruyere. And before I joined the CLRI in 2017, I spent 12 years working in long-term care as manager of social services. Glad to be here today. So we'd like to acknowledge that this work is supported by the Government of Ontario through the Ontario CLRI at Bruyere and the CLRI at the RAA. And we're very grateful to the ongoing partnership with Ashley of the NIA and Kim with the University of Waterloo. So just to tell you a little bit briefly about the Ontario CLRI, we strengthen the quality of life and care for residents across the province. We're a program of the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Long-Term Care, and we're a resource to help improve the health and well-being of the people who work and live in long-term care. In our program, we partner with the sector to provide solutions for priority issues. And as a government program, we are funded by Government of Ontario, and we're hosted at 3 different sites: Baycrest, Bruyere, and the Schlegel UW Research Institute for Aging. So for the last 5 years, the CLRI has been engaged in an EDI journey focused on supporting long-term care homes. It started with a needs assessment back in 2017 and the coming together of our advisory committee. And Kim and Ashley are both members of that group. We focused a lot in the earlier days on resource compilation and development of tools that could help fill the gaps that were identified by the needs assessment and also by advice and feedback from our advisory committee members. And that work led up to the launching of our toolkit and series of posters that we launched back in the spring of 2020. And we'll be sharing the links to those resources in the chat. More recently, we've hosted a virtual forum, which was an event that aimed to bring together care home representatives and researchers focused on EDI. And our dynamic advisory committee has representatives from across the sector, from across the province, including residents, and we're very grateful for all of the contributions that these individuals and organizations have made to this work. The CLRI plays a role in supporting connections between these folks and sharing resources.
Okay, so as Michelle mentioned, we hosted a half-day virtual forum that brought together long-term care homes and researchers to talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. So we held that back in April, and we had over 300 registrants. The event really, it filled up quickly, as pretty much as soon as registration opened, and that really speaks to kind of that interest and the hunger that folks have around learning, or to learn, sorry, about EDI in long-term care. And so our time together kicked off with a keynote speaker who I think really resonated with participants as she shared about key concept pieces and strategies to integrate into practice in long-term care, and really modeled kind of what it looks like to bring cultural humility and EDI concepts into practice for the folks who were in attendance. Really, the event itself was, our hope was kind of to create a starting place, to bring folks together, to build and continue building connections and learnings, and to carry that forward along all of our EDI journeys. And so today we'll share a little bit about kind of what was learned, along with where we're going next, and how you can maybe be a part of that as well. And so, as I mentioned, our forum featured 8 10-minute presentations. So the first 4 were put on by long-term care representatives, with sessions that covered a range of topics, from tackling anti-Black racism to learning about the needs of South Asian older adults, to how long-term care homes are embarking on their individualized and unique EDI journeys. And then we also heard from another 4 researchers about kind of the research and promising practices in supporting 2S LGBTQI+ communities, about an innovative dance program that offers inclusive programming for residents from a broad range of abilities and cultures, and how Family Councils Ontario are bringing diverse perspectives and voices together to really enhance life within long-term care homes. And you can access all of those presentations on the CLRI website if you're interested. And so, following the presentations, we broke participants into 2 groups to cover 2 different topics that were facilitated by our keynote speaker, Erin, and also myself and Kim. And so one session focused on those tangible, practical things that everyone can do when it comes to EDI and making change. And the other session really focused on kind of those more systemic and institutional changes that we're all hoping to drive forward.
So the takeaways from that conversation that happened in the breakout sessions can be found in a takeaway sheet on the website. So please feel free to check that out. So in the days and the weeks following the forum, we took some time to reflect on some of the key learnings of the day, and some participants shared their thoughts, and some of those thoughts are listed on the slide in front of you. But also we have a more detailed document, as I mentioned, on the website for you to explore following this presentation. So one of the things that we talked about, and was a consistent theme throughout the conference, was that the little things go a long way, and it's really our day-to-day practices that shape how we foster belonging in long-term care homes. So acknowledging that belonging looks and feels different for each individual, things change from day to day, deliberately creating space for people to bring their whole selves to work, live and visit in long-term care, to establish positive and supportive workplace culture, sharing mission, visions and values, and leaning on our colleagues and residents and our network for support in this journey, and advocating for change when current policies and practices don't necessarily align or explicitly acknowledge and include people. So we continue this work with the notion or the hope that little changes kind of amount to transformative change. So continuing on this theme, we believe that the messages our participants shared were really important in forwarding this idea of fostering belonging through day-to-day practices. So people express that leadership is not necessarily supportive of making change to become a more equitable and inclusive environment, that we need to confront our personal biases and work with residents and staff to make those changes. So it's the acknowledgement of each of those things that get us closer to recognizing the issues and moving towards support for making those changes. So when we asked how people were taking up this work in long-term care, 35 participants responded, noting that their home was doing EDI work. And these were some of the areas they noted that change was occurring in or movement was happening in their homes. And as you can see, there were some homes doing EDI work covering a range of different areas, mainly at the organizational and interprofessional levels. But we can see that while lots of good work is being done around advancing some of these EDI initiatives, long-term care homes express the need to do more work and the desire for more support.
And so kind of as folks were calling for more support, folks really, I think, found the content and the discussion throughout the forum really helpful. And so offered some ways forward. And so we asked what folks were going to do to implement what they learned. So how they were going to apply what they learned. And so some of the responses, while kind of the feedback for the whole event was extremely positive, folks, I think an overwhelming majority, about 94%, really agreed that they learned at least 2 new things that they were going to apply in their day-to-day work moving forward. Folks also really gained kind of more of an awareness of the resources that are out there to support them. So that was a really powerful kind of outcome of the forum, is that folks kind of left feeling maybe a little bit more supported as they were moving forward and also in applying what they learned towards their personal and professional growth, also towards making organizational change. And folks were really sharing that moving forward, that this was a great opportunity to start conversations, to share what they've learned kind of from the forum, and also to expand their networks and feel supported along their EDI journeys moving forward. And so kind of along that line of where folks were looking for more support, folks were kind of keen for having more opportunities for training, having more opportunities and support in utilizing their resources, such as the fantastic resources that we'll share with you in a second. And so I think every time we either have a presentation or a forum like we're sharing about here today, we do hear for that desire for more practical and more concrete strategies moving forward. So things that folks can take away and do something with. And so one of those things that folks are really calling for was that community of practice that we've been alluding to kind of throughout our presentation here today. So without further ado, Michelle will take us through some of the resources and support that is available for folks.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we've been working closely with our advisory committee to develop and share resources. So we have a toolkit, we have posters, we have some educational materials, as well as calendars that can help keep track of the cultural, religious, spiritual days of significance, as well as health promotion and awareness days. So you can explore all of these tools on the CLRI website. And I'm happy to share too that the printable calendars are going to be released in French for 2023. So those will be launching later this fall. And our previous materials are all available in both languages. So we'll share the link to those in the chat. I would encourage you to take some time to explore them, discuss with your team how you can utilize these tools. We also have some additional resources that we encourage you to explore. And if you're looking for something in particular that you can't find, please feel free to reach out to us. We can point you in the right direction. We're always happy to engage with homes and help connect you with tools. So we invite you to sign up for our EDI quarterly newsletter that we've started, and also, as Ashley's mentioned, to join our community of practice. The first session will be in late November, and we're going to be talking about EDI committees, how to start one, how to sustain one, and what kind of things EDI committees in long-term care do. So we'll share a link for more information about that in the chat. We're also very much looking forward to launching an e-module on culturally responsive palliative care that's going to be available next March. So stay tuned for more information about that. So we thank you so much for taking the time to attend our presentation today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I can connect you with Kim and Ashley as well. We're happy to help long-term care homes along their EDI journeys. We know this is a big and complex subject, and we can't nearly do it justice in a short presentation. So thanks for being here and taking time to listen. We are one of 6 Ontario CLRI presentations at this year's OLTCA conference. So we'd encourage you to check out our other presentations. You can follow us on Twitter at CLRI_LTC, or you can email us if you have any questions about anything you've seen from the Ontario CLRI at info@clri-ltc.ca. Thank you so much and enjoy the conference.